The Chinese are now looking to make changes that we have strongly recommended they make for years. We're anxious to participate in those, very supportive of them, and absolutely prepared to deal with a changing Chinese economy as that economy evolves. Secondly, on the Chinese side, they are now beginning to step up to making these changes because they've gotten themselves in such deep trouble. Their economic model that they've followed enormously successfully for several decades now has really run out of steam. They have postponed reforms too long, so that it not only has run out of steam, but huge underlying structural problems have developed that they now need to unwind without creating a hard landing or social discontent or deep political divisions. That's going to be a real trick. I think what we see in the new leadership is that they are facing up to the severity of these economic problems. All of these problems are technically extremely difficult. No one knows exactly how to orchestrate the kind of changes that they're seeking to make. So I think they have their hearts in the right place in terms of the structural reforms that they aspire to. They have not laid out a detailed program yet, so a lot of this is yet to come. There will be a big meeting in October in China where they will likely lay out a lot more detail. But I think that people in China are rightly very worried about how smoothly all of this will go and how successful it will be. But the U.S. side, if anything, has been promoting this. President Obama made very clear to President Xi in Sunnylands that the U.S. is absolutely prepared to be helpful where we can and look forward to engaging more with China as its economy undergoes these very important changes. The new government in Beijing has made very clear that they are deeply unhappy with North Korean policies. They have shifted their position from a position where their top priority was stability in North Korea and denuclearization was a very secondary issue. They would play along and that kind of thing, but it wasn't really at the top of their agenda, to a position where now stability and denuclearization are of equal importance. They are more willing, I think, now to be tough on North Korea, to impose sanctions more rigorously. They just welcomed the new South Korean president to Beijing and treated her in an extraordinarily cordial, respectful, and in protocol terms, extraordinary fashion. What's significant is they had just had a representative from the North Korean government in Beijing and essentially kept him on the margins. He didn't see the top people that he wanted to see, while Xi not only had the normal meetings, but even had a private lunch with President Xi, which in China is a very unusual event. And the Chinese said to her that we now want to discuss with you the future of the Korean Peninsula. That's got to make sweat come out on the brows of North Korean leaders. So we look to build on that with them, enhance the quality of our dialogue and the substance of our dialogue on North Korea, looking to various contingencies and what each side might do, and also to strengthen China's backbone in being willing to take tough measures to increase the chances that North Korea will change the way it prioritizes the nuclear issue in the future. I think at the SNED, the U.S. side's position will be, let's focus on what the real issue here, which is stealing private sector secrets for the gain of your own corporate sector. And the Chinese side will be pushing back, I think willing to engage on that to some extent, but also demanding explanations of what we're doing and saying that the U.S. is a major offender and that China's standard line that they're the victim, not the aggressor, is more true than it appeared to be even a short time ago. The good news story in all of this, frankly, is both sides now are beginning to engage seriously on the cyber issue. The conversation is just beginning. This is technically a very difficult issue to discuss in effective terms between governments. Very early days on this, but we now have a willingness of both sides to engage. So behind all of the rhetoric and all of the public tension, I think quietly something is going on that is important, and that is to begin to clarify what we need to really focus on, and the agreed upon fact that we really both need to focus on it in a much more intensive way than we have in the past. The Chinese government, in part because of the dramatic increase in air pollution problems in China over the last year, is now more serious about pollution and related energy issues. Most of their pollution is from burning coal and other fossil fuels. So that's moved up their priority ladder at the same time that President Obama is prepared to take more measures using his executive authority on the U.S. side in his second term. So both sides are now moving more beyond rhetoric and into concrete actions, and I think are looking for serious ways to cooperate more on this, both bilaterally and multilaterally. Secondly, though, the climate change issue now is being handled in a way that cyber is also now being handled, which is to say that the two sides have established working groups, one on cybersecurity, one on climate change and related issues, to meet before the SNED, to then report to the SNED on what they feel, what these working groups have determined the real U.S.-China agenda needs to be and priorities should be. The hope is these groups will continue to meet after the SNED with some direction from the SNED leaders as to what they ought to accomplish before the next annual meeting. This begins to change the SNED, to my mind, in a potentially important way, which is to shift it from being an annual event that occurs for 2 days, gets a lot of people in the room, but it's somewhat like a circus. You know, there's so much going on at the same time in such a short period of time. Shifting it from that to a process where the SNED itself provides guidance to ongoing working groups, hears reports from them, makes some judgments on those, and sets the process going again for the coming year. That makes the SNED potentially more truly strategic. It's a strategic component of an ongoing process that might actually move forward this relationship in a more significant way.